Can I, as we kick this off, can I just give you guys like a digital handshake, a high five, and a fist bump?
What'd we do?
You recommended Raised by Wolves.
Oh, yeah.
And Raj and I are about 5 episodes into that. And it's one of those things where we're watching it together, so I can't watch it when he's gone. But, oh my God.
Right.
That show, like, I'm sad it took me so long, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's really good.
It also really gives me hope that we could, like, in the right hands, they could give us a Metal Men show. Can you imagine that? That would be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could do anything. What do they do? Is the concern.
So,
I mean, yes.
So speaking of that show, because it's got Ragnar in it, the final half of the last season of Vikings, the entire season drops on December 30th.
Oh, nice. Well, happy New Year to you.
Right.
We know what Craig's going to come back talking with like an accent. We're going to hear like the scraping of a whetstone in the back as he sharpens an axe.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch Midsummer, the movie Midsummer?
No,
either of you. They actually Blood Eagle a guy in that.
Still my favorite episode of Vikings.
You don't see it happen; you see afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Such a cool concept. Well, hey everybody. Speaking of cool concepts, welcome back to another episode of Southern Fried Geekery. This is me. Let me look at my spreadsheets, do a little math, count on all my fingers and all my toes. This is episode 155, getting or one episode away from the the quintessential three-year mark. Just a big landmark for us, happening next week. So as always, I am Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
Matt Trogdon.
And I'm Craig Lance.
And it is good to hear your voices. I missed you guys all week.
You know, it's one of my favorite times of the week is when we get together and discuss comics.
There was a little bit of a pause there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, I'm not really awake. I played Dungeons and Dragons last night, so late night, early morning. Did I win?
Yeah.
The only winning in Dungeons and Dragons is not dying. So by that measure, yeah, I won.
Well, you're always a winner in my book. Well, since we kicked off the show kind of talking about TV and talking about film and movies, I think it's only appropriate. And, not that we're going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but we can't ignore what is the 1,000-pound Disney elephant in the room. That is not Dumbo, but they dropped a whole lot of news this week.
Yeah, I mean, they looked at WB and said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, the context behind all the news dropping, Roger was like, why is there a weird barrage of all this news right now? Like, what's going on? It was their stockholders meeting, if I understand it right. And so that's when they kind of announced just everything on the slate from all of their Marvel properties to their Star Wars properties to a whole bunch of other properties that aren't related to either of those IPs. Just to kind of generate, number one, to get their stockholders, like, to let them know, hey, your investments are going to pay off. Here's what we're doing, but kind of generate a lot of buzz. And I think a lot of it was to make up for the fact that 2020 was a conless year for the most part, and there really wasn't a whole lot out of like San Diego Comic-Con that happened. So I think they wanted to make a big splash. And
well, let's be fair, 2020 has left the movie industry kind of in a state of let's wait and see. Is it going to survive? Is it going to make it? We don't know. So this was a way to kind of settle their investors.
Yeah.
Hey, look, we've got all this stuff on the horizon.
And it worked. like you said, the week before, Warner Brothers had came out and said, "Hey, like we're gonna do all these things. Like we're gonna release Wonder Woman on Christmas Day. Here's what we're gonna do." And then Marvel said, "That's cool. that's cute." And or well, I should say Disney said that. So just in general, without going through everything though, I know Craig was giddy like a school child. As like they were releasing all the Star Wars news, like he was just blowing. I've never seen so many like genuinely and truly joyful text messages in my life as they just flooded in my phone. So, Craig, what are some of your what are some of your favorite moments? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to the most on this?
So, of course, Ahsoka is a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what I've been waiting for a while now. We got a preview of it or preview of live action Ahsoka in the Mandalorian show.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super excited about that. I'm also excited about the Acolytes one, which is Sith apprentices during the High Republic era. So that's going to be an interesting one. And then I'm really excited about the Patty Jenkins directed Top Gun Rogue Squadron movie that's coming up.
That's going to be really cool. That's kind of the one I think I'm looking forward to the most. Just because those are always my favorite parts of the Star Wars movies, where you do get the dogfights in space, and that was my favorite video game was Rogue Squadron. So fingers crossed for that one. I'm interested in the droids thing that they have coming out. That
really, that's the one that you're most interested in?
Yeah, kind of, because of the few Star Wars comics that I've read. The droids comic that came out was like I snagged it just because like, oh, this is kind of a cool concept. What are they going to do here? And I really enjoyed that book. And so I'm hoping, I don't know that it's going to be derived from that in any way, shape, or form. It could very well be something way different, but the droids comic was just, it was fun. And it's
basically a new droid that's being mentored by C-3PO, I think, is the premise of it.
Oh God, C-3PO is a teacher.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the premise. I'm not saying good or bad. It's just not the one that has me most excited. I will definitely watch it.
But, like that needed to be said.
Well, Matt, was
Star Wars, it will be watched.
Was there any Star Wars stuff that peaked on your radar that kind of hit you?
The Patty Jenkins project is, I think, is the one that's the one that caught my attention the most. So yeah, that one's probably the one I'm going to be anticipating the most.
It was so just that concept alone it's Patty Jenkins.
Yeah,
I can't say enough good things about her.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what she can do in that creative space.
Well, all right. Well, before we bounce over to the big house of ideas that I know, like a lot of our friends and stuff got into, there was one thing they announced that they're doing an Aliens television show on FX. That I can't wait for. I really hope it pays off. I think done the right way, and done, episodically is going to be a really neat way to see Aliens. And frankly, I think, from the live action standpoint, Aliens needs a good kick in the ass, because what we've gotten in the last little barrage of films didn't do it for me. So I've got my fingers crossed for this. I'm hoping for big things out of this.
Really, I actually think that the last couple of Aliens movies did a pretty good job of resetting the Alien series for me.
I didn't care for them, and I think, and I was talking to our buddies over at CBB about this. I think one of the reasons I didn't care for them as much is that they made the aliens like a front and center character, and it was a bunch of jump scares, but it wasn't. It got away from what Aliens is.
I think we watched different movies.
We may have. I just
Craig always watches different movies than the rest of us, Caleb.
I don't know. And that's like Prometheus. Like I thought the concept of Prometheus was really cool, and I like the tone of Prometheus, but it like overall, I just didn't get I didn't get the love from that show. And you know, I don't know. This is a whole little batch of the last Aliens film just didn't. I don't want to say that I'm not saying they're qualitatively bad. I'm saying I didn't get the emotive response that I wanted to get from those movies. Like that's fair. It's just a subjective thing. But I'm really hoping they get back to the roots of the Aliens franchise. Like I know we're going to have to see them, but we don't have to see them like as the spotlight. Like they can go back to what they did in the first thing, where you only see like glimpses and pieces of them in the peripheral as they like scuttle through the.
Well, I mean, there wasn't even an alien in Prometheus until the very end of the movie.
Well, no, but that movie wasn't about the quote unquote aliens. It was about that was an origin story.
Well, I think if I understand what you're talking about, Caleb, you're really talking about how the Aliens movies have gone from a suspense thriller to a sci-fi horror movie.
Right. I want it to go back to just being a horror show. Like, you know, give it the Seven treatment, kind of. That would be cool.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be that lucky, but here's hoping.
Fingers crossed. I mean, you know, you can always dream. A boy can dream.
We can always dream.
All right, so Matt, since you've kind of got the microphone, let's jump over to Marvel. Was there anything in the Marvel film related stuff that got your blood pumping?
Well, I mean, not so much. I mean, I'm, you know, the TV shows that there are clips for. I mean, I don't know. I can't say I'm super excited for.
Okay.
I mean, I'll check them out. Probably. I mean, if you guys convince me that it's something I should watch, that's probably what it's going to take. Other than that, I mean, the WandaVision show, I'm like, whatever. You know, the Falcon,
the thing I'm the most excited for.
I'm just like, well, okay, yeah, maybe. I don't know. None of them are really grabbing me.
The one thing, thing I'm the most excited for, Matt.
Look, meh. Look, let's just be honest. I'm still fucking pissed off I didn't get Dune this year. I was told I was going to get Dune. Dune was promised to me, and then they fucking took Dune away from me for another 12 months. And now
you're getting it for free.
Yeah, well, allegedly. Now there's even shade cast on that. So you know what? It's ruined. Everything is ruined. Why do you get your Star Wars and your Wanda, and I don't get any Dune? And I was specifically promised it.
Matt said he's not watching shit else till no ideas on his screen.
Yeah.
Well, you got Dune this year, a Mandalorian. I don't know what you're complaining about.
No.
that wasn't enough to scratch that itch.
No. It was salt on a wound. That's what that was.
Look, I think that they are just waiting. They're spacing it out because they know how much money it's going to make, and because they needed time to make it even better, Matt. Like it's going to be more better, and that's why. That's why it's taking so long.
It's going to be more best.
Good things come to those who wait. You must learn patience. Patience, my
friend. I waited.
You did waited. No, they need to come on. They need to come on with that. So the WandaVision is like as far as the episodic television goes, that's the thing that I'm most excited for. Unsurprising to anyone who knows me. You know, Wanda's my like second favorite character at Marvel, and I think they're pulling a lot tonally from the Vision.
Oh yeah,
OGN or the Vision, the Tom King
series by Tom King.
Yeah. They're pulling from that hard, and I thought that was a brilliant series. So I'm very excited to see that, and I love how they're doing this, like, you know, Wally, you know, meet the Beaver kind of like thing on the front end, Bewitched, you know, whatever you want to call it, and they're interjecting it with like this glitchy, kind of terrifying, like behind the veil thing to let you know that there really is something wrong here.
Like Truman Show kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I'm really, that's going to be fun because you really don't know what time this is happening, where this is happening, like whose brain this is in. You know, the last time we saw Vision, he got the color sucked out of him by Thanos. So I don't know. I really am curious to see what they're going to do with the show, and I'm never going to be mad about seeing more Scarlet Witch on the screen. Second to that, the thing that I got really excited about was the announcement that that we're getting Blonsky back in the She-Hulk movie. The Tim Roth is returning as he played the Abomination in the first, I guess what's considered the first canon Hulk film for this go around. It was back when Grumpy McShithead was playing Bruce Banner.
Ed Norton.
Yeah, that guy. American History X person, who I think is actually a decent actor. I just kind of he's got a reputation for being hard to work with. But I love Tim Roth's character as the Abomination in that movie. And as a Hulk fan, the Abomination is like, you can't not get excited when he shows up in some way, shape, or form. So that one,
did they change this to a movie? Is She-Hulk a movie or a series?
It's a series. It's a television.
Oh, okay.
I use that. I got to quit doing that. I do that every time we talk about this stuff, just because it's kind of, to defend myself, what's the difference now when everything is streaming services and you can binge watch everything? Like, television shows are just 13-hour movies anymore. So,
but Disney doesn't release theirs all at once.
No, they don't. They're making us wait for it, and people are acting like it's a new concept.
So it's episodic.
Yes.
So it's a TV show.
Okay. Yeah. Just making sure.
But no, so She-Hulk is getting her own television series, which will be episodic, and Tim Roth is coming back to at least play Blonsky. I don't know if we'll.
I just didn't know if I'd missed the note that it was changed to a movie versus a streaming show.
No, you just let your podcast get led by somebody who doesn't know what words mean. That's what happened. Just me not understanding how to speak like an adult.
Does Willow count as my favorite?
It can.
No, I mean, I know it's not Marvel, but I'm pretty excited about getting a Willow television show.
Yeah, I love it.
Should scratch Matt's itch for fantasy, even though he's not getting Dune.
Yeah, it could. And you don't got to keep bringing that up,
Why you got to talk about old shit? I like that they're bringing back the original actor for that guy. And weirdly enough, for some reason, I thought that he had passed away. I don't know.
He is not. Yeah.
But so I got kind of that.
He started acting when he was like 6 years old.
Yeah, he's
really not that old right now.
He's been around for a minute though. Kind of slightly big news. Christian Bale playing Gore the God Butcher, which I think is cool.
Dude, I thought that was amazing news. I was like, holy smoke, dude. That sounds awesome.
I want them to get really meta with it and have Gore the God Butcher like flexing in front of a mirror. Just
I do not.
I'm good without that. Yeah.
Well,
you want him to drop a chainsaw on Thor too?
Yes, as a
Caleb wants these things for different reasons.
You ain't gotta tell all my secrets. Riri is getting her own thing from Disney Plus. There's going to be an Iron Man spinoff starring Riri Williams as Ironheart. That's pretty rad. I think
we all saw that coming, right?
We did. I'm hoping it leads up to a Champion series. That would make me happy. I want that really bad. Of course, our buddy with the announcement of the Gore the God Butcher thing, former co-host, friend of the show, and just generally all around, fanboy and good guy, Jerry Smith is still livid beyond words that they are not giving him his Beta Ray Bill. He's not happy about that.
Did you see what they did to Beta Ray Bill in the comic books this month?
In which one? Because they keep doing
in the Thor comic. Did you read that, Matt?
No, I'm not reading Thor.
Oh, okay. And you're not, Caleb?
I am reading Thor. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Okay. Well, I won't spoil it for you. Yeah, he suffers badly. I'll just put it that way.
They keep drawing his face weird. Like they're taking the more horse. They're making his face look flat.
Well,
I've seen it.
Small spoiler. His face is gone.
Oh, well, that's gonna be awkward.
That is like
that's
small spoiler.
The small spoiler. His face is gone.
Did he really need a half a face or the face? Who can say? He already had more face than most people. So He'll be all right. And then the last two things, Moon Knight, they confirmed. Well, there's three things. Moon Knight got confirmed that it's going to be a series. That's going to be cool. Our buddy Jeffrey Ketchum got on our Facebook group and reminded me that once upon a time there was rumors going around that Oscar Isaac was going to be playing Mark Spector. I could see that. That would be. I don't know if Oscar Isaac is going to jump.
No, I don't know.
He's too.
Oscar Isaac's rumored for everything now.
Yeah, no way they could afford him for a series.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. And then there is going to be an Armor Wars thing. Don Cheadle is reprising his role as War Machine. That's dope. And then I think we already knew this, but they just went ahead and reconfirmed it just to calm everybody's nerves. But Mahershala Ali is going to be Blade in some respect. They are doing a Blade feature film. This is going to be an actual film starring Mahershala Ali, who I'm a big fan of. I think he does great work being Blade. So I'm curious to see what they do with that. Did I miss anything, Craig? Is there anything that I glossed over that you thought was the badassery?
No, I think you hit most of the high points there. I'm much more interested in the Thor movie now with the announcement of Christian Bale as Thor.
I can't wait to see how he does as a villain, man. I cannot. I'm stoked about that.
Yeah. Blade news is always good news. So, I'm interested in the movies probably a bit more than the shows.
Yeah.
But I watch the shows.
Well, the two shows, the Moon, I don't know which one I'm looking to forward more, Moon Knight or She-Hulk. That's a tough one, but those are the big two for me.
For me on that note, it's She-Hulk, because from what I understand and what they're going to do is they are bringing in, they're showing her being an attorney. And they're going to have these little, they're going to kind of do what Mando has done so well, where they have these little blips where, all of these famous folks come in for 1 or 2 episodes and play a, it could be a C-level character, do some type of role where she's representing them. And I think that's going to be cool. It's kind of it'll be a little formulaic, but sometimes formulaic's not bad. Like the villain of the week thing, there's a reason it's a trope. It works for some things. So I think
I have breaking news coming in right now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they have just announced that Lizard, Venom, and Carnage are all making a cameo in Spider-Man 3 as well.
Dude, I think at this point we're making cameos.
I'm playing. It's just like it's gotten ridiculous to how many people there are rumored to be in this movie.
Doc Ock is the one I want to be in the movie.
Yeah, fine, but it's going to be so overcrowded, and I don't think it's going to be anything more than a cameo.
No, that's what I was thinking. I think a lot of people are going to be really disappointed because the whole premise of this is like Doctor Strange, like multiversal stuff, and I think half of this stuff is just going to be small glimpses of people, like for a split second as they like travel through a multiverse. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they do, and I think a lot of people are going to be highly disappointed if that's all it is. But that's what
I'm going to be highly disappointed if they really try to cram all of these people into a movie.
Surely Marvel knows better than that.
Yeah.
It's Spider-Man 3. You have to cram as much into it as you can because that's kind of the formula we've set up. But
keep in mind, Spider-Man is not necessarily Marvel. It's tag teaming with Marvel, but it's also Sony, and Sony has made mistakes in the past.
Well, but that's how it got back in Marvel's hands, is they kept screwing it up and screwing it up and screwing it up. So
yeah, I think that the whole point of this is that even though it's owned by Sony, Marvel's controlling the storylines, right?
Yeah.
And I have faith. They haven't made they've only made a few movies that were kind of like womp womp womp. So overall, I think they're just hyping folks up. And even if it is just these small cameos, I think it'll be good. I don't think they're going to overladen it with too much, because what would be the point of that? One thing I did forget: they're giving us Kang. They're giving us Jonathan Majors from Lovecraft Country is going to be playing Kang the Conqueror, and they're giving that to us in the Ant-Man film. So like that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
Is King going to be what they use to reset the Marvel Cinematic Universe at some point?
God, I hope so. Then we get that much closer to X-Men.
Right.
I really think that's what's going to happen at some point. Recasting and resetting, right?
I mean, whatever it takes to get X-Men, just do whatever it takes, please.
I think we're getting there. Which also, one of the things that they dropped on us that I got excited about was they are doing a Fantastic Four movie. So I do think that they're getting there where they're finding ways to break in the other pillars of the Marvel timeline. So and it wouldn't surprise me if they use the Fantastic Four to find a way, because for whatever reason, to find a way to break in the mutants. And we've already
do it, man.
They've already hinted at some mutants being around. They just haven't called them that.
Yeah.
So
gotta do it.
Yeah. No, they will. That's too big. That's too much of a moneymaker.
Yeah.
As far as Kang though, I think Kang would make a great overall villain. I don't know. So one of the things I haven't, that floated around my little brain with this stuff is we just got through with a big play with timeline event thing. That's kind of what Thanos surprisingly was a let's do some time travel. Let's play around with the floating timeline. So I don't know if that is a genius move or a too much too soon move to introduce time travel again. But it is Peyton Reed doing it. So on some level, I have some faith that he could pull it off. But I don't know. But I love Kang. Avengers 2 taught me not to get too excited when they introduce villains that I love. So I'm still not over what they did to Ultron. I have to just calmly wait and see. But yeah, anyway, no, a lot of fun news. We all got really excited about it. There are a lot of people who genuinely don't give a shit about the big corporate IPs and tentpole things that, on some level they were just like, I don't care. But look, it was fun to be excited again. This has been a shitty year. This has been a shitty year for everybody. And it was really cool to get on for me to get on social media and scroll through and see genuine, no political, well, some political, but mostly no political negativity, mostly no talking about COVID, no, all the bullshit and the bad shit that's going on in the world. It was a timeline full of folks like being very celebratory, very lighthearted, very giddy, very like looking forward to the future. And that was nice to see. It was kind of a breath of fresh air, at least on my end. So I thought that was great. I like to see people happy.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Who likes?
Yeah, I like to see myself happy.
So, all right. So enough with that stuff. This is a comic book talk show for the most part. All of that's tangentially related to comics. It's going to be fun stuff. But we three do a whole lot of reading throughout the week, and that's why we gather together on this, the most holiest of holy days, to break bread, to sip coffee, which is the nectar of the gods, and to talk about what we've been reading this week. Just before we do that, though, spoiler warning. We talk about comics. We talk about what's in the comics, and sometimes the comics are relatively new. Sometimes they've been around for a minute, so you're not, it shouldn't be a surprise. But either way, if we're going to say what we're talking about, and if it's something that you're interested in and you don't want it spoiled for you, as is, I get that. Skip ahead to the next topic. Check out the show notes. We're going to put time signatures in there, for your convenience, and that way nothing gets spoiled for you. And I just want to, because we don't want to ruin anybody's experience with the sequential medium. That's what we love, and we get it. But we also like to talk about comics, and this is our show, and you're not here, so you can't do anything about it. That ain't any boo-boo. Waha. So what have you guys been reading this week? What's on your short stacks?
I don't want to steal from you, Matt, so you go ahead.
Oh, wow. All of a sudden, you're so generous. Must be all that Star Wars news.
So bad for you because of Dune.
Yeah, well,
it's pity.
I need it. I'm in pain. So, but so starting off my short stack, read what I believe is the final issue of IDW's Mountainhead, which, I mean, I started reading this series about a year ago, and issue 5 just came out. This is the one by John Lees, Ryan Lee, Doug Garbark, and Sean Lee. So this one started out what I thought was going to be a crime story with a psychological bend to it, and ended up being that, you know, the reason people get Mountainhead, again, to review, is people going a little nutty because they've been on the mountains too long in the solitude, is because there are Lovecraftian mountain monsters on the mountain, and they infect people. So that's why the people go crazy. So yeah, kind of a swerve there, as the kids would say, that the story took versus how it started. Also, the other 2 books I read are from Marvel. Juggernaut, number 4, by Fabian. I can't say this guy's freaking name. Niskiza? Sure. No, that's not right. That's the one.
Nicesia.
Yeah, and all that too. Yeah. That's probably not even his real name. And Ron Garney, Matt Miller did the colors. This series I really like, but I really like the Juggernaut as a character, so I'm predisposed to dig it. There's one, so, you know, in this issue, what we're really seeing is that the Sidorak no longer has psychological control over Kane Marco. So he's much more in control of his own faculties, and, you know, so more of the I guess you would call him a low-level criminal attitude comes out. So he, like, you know, he'll steal things and stuff, but he doesn't want to. He's going to protect children from being harmed. He doesn't want to hurt innocent people necessarily. He's not evil. He's just kind of a thug. And you see more of that coming out in this. But there's one. Are y'all reading this?
I am not, no.
I read the first issue. I haven't read the second issue yet. I've got a giant stack of comics and I'm trying to make my way through right now.
Well, there is a. I'm going to go ahead and spoil a page in here because it's just too good. There's a flashback sequence where he is regaining possession of the Sidorak, and when he finds it, it has been pulverized, and he finds the container holding the pulverized remnants of the Sidorak, and to repossess the Sidorak, he stuffs his face into the box and snorts it like cocaine. So that was pretty excellent.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was that was a great panel. And then the third thing to round out my short stack is, again, from Marvel, Marauders number 16. This, again, written by Jerry Duggan, artist is Stefano Caselli, and art by Edgar Delgado. Have y'all read this?
No, I'm not reading Marauders as a title. I read it during the X of Swords, but I kind of fell off of Marauders previous to that.
So previous in this run, Sebastian Shaw kills Kate Pride. Well, she finally got resurrected due to the resurrection protocol on Krakoa. And now that the X of Swords drama is over, Kate Pride and Emma, the White Queen, decide they're going to confront Sebastian Shaw on his murder of Kate Pride. So they do so, and it is excellent. This whole run in this book where they confront him on what he has done in his little study full of vintage liquors that he prizes so much is excellent. And just the little things in this book I like to point out is Jerry Duggan writes Storm very, very well. I want much more. Yeah, I mean, he really gets Storm, man. But this is real. I mean, they really give Sebastian Shaw what for. It's so good. The dialogue's great. Marauders has just been so good. So yeah, that's my short stack.
I know you're not supposed to feel bad for Sebastian Shaw, and you shouldn't, but all I can think of anybody who is caught between a rock and the hard place that is White Queen and Kitty Pryde is that poor bastard. Like, I know he had it coming, but fuck, I don't want to be him.
Yeah, you certainly don't. By the end of this issue, you certainly don't either.
So, random fun fact, and it's got nothing to do with the comic, but the series Mountainhead, Matt, did you know that there is a band called Mountainhead, that they are a bluegrass / folk band that remakes hip hop songs?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Their claim to fame is Shimmy Shimmy Ya from Wu-Tang. So it's a bluegrass version of Shimmy Shimmy Ya.
Wow.
Get on that after the show.
So in going back to Marauders, he killed Cape Pride because he wanted to insert his son as the Red King, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was the reason why.
Yeah, so, and in order for him to illegally sell the Krakoan flowers to the black market, he wanted to control that market. So,
Gotcha. So you want me to go next? I'll go next.
Yeah, go next.
We would not have had any overlap this week, so there's that. All three of mine are DC books, even though two of them are only tangentially DC. The first one is Sweet Tooth: The Return, number 2, DC Black Label by Jeff Lemire. Are either of you two reading this? I'm really enjoying this retelling of Sweet Tooth.
I'm not.
Did either of you read Sweet Tooth, the original?
No, it's a blind spot for me, and it's one I need to rectify. I've never gotten to it.
So I wondered how he was going to do this because, he stated up front this wasn't going to be a remake or, it was going to be its own story. And basically, Sweet Tooth is awoken, the character Sweet Tooth, or Gus, as he is also known, is awoken in a facility. He remembers everything that's happened, but none of it's happened in this kind of alternate universe, and he's being held captive. And he escaped at the end of the first issue, and this is the consequences of him escaping happens in the second issue. So it's a very interesting way to retell this story. Then the second book I read was Locke&Key number 0. It's part of the Sandman universe line of DC books, and they're crediting IDW as well because it was originally an IDW book, but it's by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. The thing that really intrigued me about this book is you actually get to see the Keymaker in this. He plays an integral part in this story. And then the last book I read was DC Tales from the Dark Multiverse-Flashpoint by Brian Hitch. He did the story and the pencils on this. I really have enjoyed, for the most part, all of the Dark Multiverse books, and this is just another one of those that's really intriguing to me. This is the Flashpoint universe after the Flash went back and reset everything, supposedly, and we got New 52. Mm-hmm. This was the world that he had created previous to him resetting things and starting the New 52. So this is Thomas Wayne as Batman. It's got Reverse Flash is the only Flash in this universe. And Reverse Flash has decided he's going to take over this version of Earth.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. Have you guys read much of the Dark Multiverse stuff?
I've read Oh, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, I've not read any of it.
So I've read a little bit of it. Especially most of what I read came out of that first kind of push from Dark Knight's Metal. And I've picked up a few things here and there just based on mostly on what the artist on the book is. If it's an artist I think is great, I'll pick it up. But I haven't tried to get all of them. Number one, there's been a lot of them, but also this is one of those situations that is really weird because I like the tie-ins a lot better than I like the main series. I didn't like Metal at all. And
this has nothing to do with metal.
Well, it spins out of the dark universe or something, doesn't it? Like after they
no, these are basically what if books that go back to different events that have happened throughout time in DC, and gives you a point of view if it didn't play out the way that it had in the event. What happens?
Okay, I thought this was something to do with when they broke the source wall.
No, this has nothing to do with that. This is basically, and I can't remember the character's name, but he's basically DC's version of the Watcher.
Yeah.
And he's traveling through time and he's relaying these stories of different events that played out, differently throughout the multiverse.
Okay. Well,
so maybe on, the main DC universe, it happened this way, but what happens if it didn't happen that way?
Right.
Isn't that Crazy Quilt? Isn't that character?
No, it's his. I can tell you his name. Hold on one second. I've got the book right here.
Yeah. Well, while you're looking that up, I just want to say, that's my bad then, because for some reason I've always connected the Dark Multiverse. I guess because of the word dark or whatever. I assumed it was something to do with that run, and if it's not, I need to go back and revisit some of it because it sounds cool. I just, like I said, I didn't dig Dark Knight's metal, and I haven't read Death Metal, so I can't make a judgment call on that one way or the other.
Yeah, if that's your reason for holding out on it, you held out for the wrong reasons, because this is just completely different. This is Tempus Fuginaut is the character's name.
I was close.
He's a big Galactus-looking character that stands over the multiverse.
It's the French pronunciation of Crazy Quilt.
Yeah, man, I'd have put big money on the fact it was Crazy Quilt. Damn.
But yeah, it's really an interesting concept. They've done Hush. They've done just different things that have happened throughout time, different events and minor events, even not even major universe-changing events.
See, this is why I come to you guys. Look, teaching the boy. Learn him a thing or two. So I'm glad you guys covered some DC and some Marvel, because I don't got no DC or Marvel in my short stack. It is Big Two free this week. The first one comes out of a little publisher that we know and love called Dark Horse Comics. You might have heard of them. And it is part of the Black Hammer universe. Yeah, I just continue to, man, I could eat this stuff up. It's so ridiculously good. This is Colonel Weird Cosmogog #2, written by Jeff Lemire. And as good as Jeff Lemire is, you might not think that can be upstaged, but in my opinion, Jeff Lemire is not the selling point for this book. It's Tyler Crook's art. This looks at Colonel Weird, who is all of these books are analogs of different DC characters. He's Colonel Weird's analog of of Adam Strange. And as he bounces around, it shows it's telling you the story of his life. It goes back to him being a kid. It goes to him being first launching into space. In this second issue, there's not a lot of big things that happen, but it's just worth it to see the weirdness and the beauty of Tyler Crook's art. That man can draw anything, paint anything, and make it look great, whether or not it's a scene of a bunch of kids down by the creek playing, rough and tumble, just as a really rural scene, or whether it's this weird and wacky Pulp Fiction space aliens and phasers stuff. The dude has got such a wide range and makes it all look good. If you're not reading these, really and truly, if you haven't read the Black Hammer universe, it doesn't matter. You can pick these up on their own. There's some baggage that comes with it that you might not be able to grab, but the stories are fun just by themselves. And as weird and wacky and spacey as that is, the next book on my short stack has almost really nothing. It's a left turn, but it's also a Dark Horse book. And I've got it right here. It's a hardcover. And this book is called Noir. It's a collection of crime comics that was put out by Dark Horse this past week, 2 weeks ago. And it's an anthology. And you guys know, I really dig anthology collections. They're fun, especially because you don't have to you can kind of pace them out. You don't have to read them all at once. It's a black and white book, as a good noir comic should be. But it's got short stories from folks like Brian Azzarello, Jeff Lemire. It's got a Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips story, which is incredibly cool. It's got a story that says that Joelle Jones is the artist on it, which I think is a little bit of a lie, because she draws 2 pictures and it's really a prose story with 2 Joelle Jones pictures shoved in between the text, which, any Joelle Jones is good Joelle Jones, but she wasn't doing any sequential storytelling in the book. But it was really great. The book didn't bat 1,000 by any means. There were some stories that were very, very, very good. There was a few that I got about halfway through them and skipped 2 pages over to the end and didn't particularly care. But that's any book. But no, the highlight to me was the last story, and it was the story written by Azzarello, but it's got art by Gabriel Moon and Fabio Ba, who they did Day Tripper, and I love that story. And it's called The Bad Night, and it's essentially starts off in a bar, and it's a guy talking to a hitman, and is telling him, here's the folks that you're going after, here's the mark, they're going to have a kid with them. You go down and check them out. It's at the end of their day. They're going to be coming home. They've went and seen a movie, and here's what you're going to get. And if you can read between the lines, it's not hard to. It's essentially it's the Wayne family leaving the theater, and it's Joe Chill who is going to rob them. But of course, because it's Dark Horse and not DC, they can't say who it is, but it leads you to believe like this is what led up to this event, and you see the pearls and all that fun stuff. It's a really cool collection. I dug the hell out of it. And then last but certainly not least is a book from Aftershock, and this book is Red Atlantis, and the 2nd issue came out. This book is really, it took me by surprise. I thought I would pick up the 1st issue and just kind of move on. It's essentially, it takes all the fear-mongering and the terror from the Cold War mixed with all the fear-mongering and the terror from the elections that we just went through, and loops them into a kind of a psyop story of this young woman who, the CIA's after her, the bad guys are after her. There's people with mind-altering powers. And it's turning into like this weird, like dirt and grime, psychological and literally like super powered thriller. But like I said, it's a psyop story, so it's really cool. The key point here is it's written by Stephanie Phillips, who I've become just a really, really big fan of, and she's teamed up with Robert Carey and Roshan Choi Pateri. I think for me, Stephanie Phillips has been the breakout creator of 2020, from her work on Butcher of Paris, the stuff that she's doing in Red Atlantis. She's doing the A Man Among Ye pirate book right now. I heard a rumor or saw a rumor written somewhere that she's going to be doing some work for one of the big 2. I'm not sure what, but I think she's become a big up and comer in 2020. I think this has been a good year for her. So, it's giving you everything that Aftershock is want to give you. It's a fun story. It's the pacing's great. The dynamics of the story is great. You don't know who's the good guy. You don't know who the bad guy is. You do know who the bad guy is. It's people murdering everybody. But like I said, there's some mind control stuff going on. It's fun stuff. So if you haven't checked out Red Atlantis, it's not going to be the next thing you put on your shelf next to Alan Moore, but it's fun stories. So go do that. It's a good time. So, all right. That was fun. Man, we all...
I can second the Red Atlantis stuff. I'm enjoying that.
Oh, no, I didn't know you were reading this.
Yeah, I am. It's good. It's Stephanie Phillips. I picked it up for that reason alone.
I really want to get Stephanie Phillips on the show. She hasn't returned an email I sent her.
Well, that would be awesome.
I want to pick her brain. She seems really cool. And young, like to be writing all of this like historically but accurate and nuanced stuff that she writes. She's really young. Like that's, I think she's got a great story, a great future in storytelling, be it in comics or whatever else. But yeah, I'm a fan. So it's always fun to know like the differences in stuff that we read. collectively. That's what I love about doing short stacks. So
yeah.
But
and it gives us a quick overview of what other people are reading too. So
facts. And if you want to tell us what you have read, oh dear sweet listener who's at home thinking, hey, I've read things that aren't that, you know what you should do? You should come to our Facebook group or our Twitter page or our Instagram page, and you should tell us what you're reading, because we want to know. We actually do. We deeply care what folks out there are reading, because maybe you're onto something that we are missing, and you need to share that wealth of information that you've got locked in your little brain. You channel them right through your fingertips on your keyboard, and you pop up on social media, and you let us know. Because it's fun times. You just go right up there to the search bar. You type in Southern Fried Geekery Podcast, and it brings you to us. And we welcome you with open arms to the little family that we have going here. And we get to talk about the funny books. Who doesn't love doing that? So, well, all right. We ready for the roundtable? We ready to break out kind of a main course to this dish?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
So, just to make sure that we all read the same thing, because it's been a busy week. If I'm not mistaken, we all decided that we would read from the Marvel Comics, the big house of ideas, the next chapter, the next iteration, the next title in the X-Men universe, S.W.O.R.D #1.
That is what I read.
That's what I read. 2 out of 3. So no, that's the next book, because it was like I said, it's the next thing coming out of it. I think it's the first book spinning out of the event that just ended, the is it X of Swords or Cross of Swords?
I said X of Swords.
Yeah, X of Swords.
Okay, I keep hearing people say different things, because and in Hawksbox it was X of Sword or House of X.
Power of 10.
Power of 10, yeah. So, I mean, who knows? There's lots of things you can do with the X, but some folks have taken to calling it Cross of Swords, which, anyway, it doesn't matter. This book was written by Mr. Al Ewing, who we are all a fan of. Craig, tell them why we're fans of Al Ewing.
Oh, he's writing a little book of no importance about some green guy that smashes things.
Matt, also tell them why we're fans of Al Ewing.
Because he's writing a hugely important book that means a lot to us, called The Immortal Hulk. You know what Craig's babbling about.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And he is joined in his endeavors by Mr. Valerio Schiti and Marte Gracia and Adriana Mar on the letters of this book. And as we always do, before we kind of break this book down and talk about what it was or what it wasn't, what did you guys think about this title?
I like the book.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It was, for me, very much a setup book.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If it, it's one of those books where, hey, here's a guy and we're going to tell him everything going on so you can get caught up. I'm it's Al Ewing, so I'm going to give it a couple of issues.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I enjoyed the book. I was entertained. I had fun with it, but I think overall I'm just kind of ambivalent to it. Other than the mention of a few characters, nothing really. And I don't think that's the fault of the book. I just think I'm still in that weird place where I'm like, oh, okay, this is another X-Men book, and I don't have room in my budget for another book right now, much less adding another X-Men book. So I don't know. I got left with okay, this is cool. There are people who will love this. I can check back later.
This very much feels like a book that, 9 out of 10 people are only going to be interested in if they are following X-Men.
Right. Yeah. It's quality. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It just was like, okay, although we'll get into it. So what this book is about, as you all know, there used to was an organization called S.W.O.R.D, and they've been in and out of Marvel continuity and comics for a long time. At one point, they were like the ulterior organization to S.H.I.E.L.D. They tend to not care much about what happens on the Earth as much as they were looking out for cosmic threats and folks coming in to invade. Then they quit being an aspect of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they latched on to Alpha Flight for a while. At one point, I think A-Force was using the former S.W.O.R.D base called the Peak as a base of operations for for what little we got A-Force. But in kind of all of these carnations, it's always been led by one green-haired, glasses-donned figure named Abigail Brand. And Abigail Brand is a mutant, but she's not just any mutant. She's a mutant with really cosmic-based powers, and she's always like she's the Nick Fury of the outer world of the cosmic universe, right? Like she's this kind of grandiose, clandestine leader who trusts no one, and she uses her mutant abilities to what she believes to do is to defend the planet, and kind of control what goes in and out. Now, the Peak and really S.W.O.R.D in general, they disappeared for a while. Nobody really, to at least my knowledge, folks didn't know what happened to it. But one of the things that happens at spinning out of X of Swords, when they defeated the, I keep wanting to call it Weird World. What was the place that they were in? Otherworld. Yeah. When they kind of broke through Otherworld and all things spilled forward again. Spoilers, like they released the all of the Captain Britain Corps, and part of what happened is the Peak, the S.W.O.R.D space station, came out. It came back into the universe. It broke a hold of it, and the mutants, under the guidance of Abigail Brand, they've taken over. They are now using it as a space station to do a lot of what S.W.O.R.D used to do, but through the lens of a mutant protectant system. I mean, which is smart because look, I mean, a big portion of the X-Men history in the X-Men universe is fending off cosmic threats, be it from the Horde or the Kree who come in, Lalandra and all her bullshit. They fight in space a lot.
Lalandra and all her bullshit.
Follow me for more titles. That's Lalandra and all her bullshit's going to be my
summarize Chris Claremont's run on the
right. That's going to be my cable access television show at 1 a.m. It's next to a fern. Lalandra and all her bullshit. But yeah, so they've set it up and they've kind of reorganized it. Again, it's under Abigail Brand, but lo and behold, they have brought in another figure who we know a version of him, but to lead security at this place is young Cable, and he's kind of set everything up. I guess he's if you've watched Iron Man, he's Happy. he's the chief of security for the Peak, and he's kind of running his operations, and it's a big day for young Cable because a member of the Mutant Council is coming to inspect the Peak. They're coming to check out what's been going on with S.W.O.R.D to make sure all things are in line and running right. And who else would you send but one of the no nonsense hard edge people of all time, none other than the master of magnetism himself, Magneto, shows up. And in high fashion, Magneto takes the long way around. He doesn't just come through one of the Krakoan gates. He comes up on a ship, so he can make his grand, totally not Darth Vader entrance, riding in on a piece of metal, which is cool, right? So he gets there and he meets with Cable, and they're talking about what they're doing. They're talking about how it's going to help mutant kind. He starts talking to Abigail Brand about what their purpose is and how the operation systems work, and what they're allowing mutants to do, and how they are a protectorant for mutant kind. And as they're going through, they're seeing lots of, I don't even know if you call them D-level mutants, F-level mutants maybe, that are working here, and who play a larger role than I think you really understand the impact of until the end of the story. But you've got folks like WizKid is his mutant name, but he's a wheelchair bound mutant. I say wheelchair. He's got kind of a hover chair, a la, I think they took Charles Xavier's hover chair and just gave it a paint job. and gave it to this kid. But he can talk to technology. He's kind of like Cypher in that way. He can communicate with technology, but not just any, the way we think of technology. It's any technology, be it mutant-based technology or human-based technology, organic technology, or tech technology. He can bring the communicate in and internalize it and kind of tell you what's going on. There's another guy named Peepers who shows up, who I don't know that he's ever had a large spotlight shined on him, but he has the power of sight, in an advanced way. He can see things that are not viewable by the human eye, be that on any kind of spectrum or microscopically or what have you. He connects to that and can kind of give the field of vision and interpret what's going on in the world. You got another guy, this guy named Cortez, who's kind of a pretentious prick who shows up and thinks that he's going to impress Magneto, and Magneto quickly just kind of schluffs him aside. And all of this is really just to show you who these characters are, because these characters make up something called, they make up a type of mutant technology, not unlike what we see from the Six, the folks who run the Resurrection Squad, right? That use these that they pretty much beat death for the most part, and they can bring all the mutants back. It's a combination of power that they're calling mutant technology like that. Of course, the oldest version of this is what we lovingly call the fastball special. Like that's a really good way to think about it. It's, you take two mutant abilities, you combine them together, and it allows cooperation in a way that neither mutant could affect on their own. But that's what these folks are doing, and what it allows them to do. These collection of these six mutants who put their powers together, they can go beyond galaxies in the way that some folks from, you can walk through a gate on Earth and come to the X outpost on the blue area of the moon, or deeper into space maybe. What the S.W.O.R.D is allowing them to do with this connection of mutants is they can branch out and go across the cosmos, or maybe even through dimensions, to reach places that were not otherwise reachable. And this is going to really give the mutants and the allies of the mutants a leg up on the cosmic scale. This is going to open up a lot of doors for them. Of course, you've got folks like Manifold, who's a part of this group, and it's very impressive, and you can really tell that Magneto, he is impressed. I think he's got some concerns. I think he worries about Abigail Brand's ability to maintain a tight ship, so to speak, which I think is ridiculous. If anybody else can do it, she can do it. But he's a very hard-edged person. But it's really showing a different. What this book does really well, I think, is it shows a relaxed side of Magneto. Magneto is joking with folks in this book. I don't know, like it's a Magneto that we haven't seen very often. He seems relaxed, and I guess whatever this visit was put him at ease. And it also reminds you of some of the high points that they promised us, that Hickman has promised us, that we would be getting to in the X-Men universe. The Scarlet Witch is mentioned in the aspect of being able to reach out to the Kree Skrull Empire, which is now one, and they're sending an emissary there to, as far as like mutant relations goes, and he's asking how that goes, and like, well, it's okay, but they're not necessarily happy. After all, you've named, and this kind of spins out of the Empire event, you've named the Emperor's mother-in-law persona non grata, like, she's and he's like, oh yeah, Wanda the Pretender. And they kind of move on from there. And at the end of the book, it kind of opens up some, they do some portal travel. You get to see Valerio Schiti really flex his artistic muscles. And the color spectrum by Martea Gracia is gorgeous. Me personally, I love the way Valerio Schiti draws draws these figures. I think as Abigail Brand is great. She is, as she always was, short green hair, always wearing her sunglasses. You don't really get to see her powers per se as much as you get to see other people who are the focus of this. But I think it's cool. I think it really is showing you the mechanics of these mutant abilities and what happens when they, it's kind of like Transformers. This is the mutant version of combiners that throw together to show you what they are going to do. So what do you guys, how did you guys, going deeper into this, feel about this as a setup book and branching out and showing the broader mutant abilities and world?
I thought it did its job as a setup book. I don't know, frankly, these are characters that I have no history with. Right. So the only characters I was really compelled by, obviously one being Magneto, Cable being in, I've never been like a huge Cable fan. I have a, somewhat passing interest in Cable. So I'll give this series a couple of more issues at least to see if it really captures my interest, but just the characters that are present in it, it's more likely just based on my own habits that I won't stay on it.
Yeah, same. I'm going to give it a few issues. It's Al Ewing, and for that reason alone, I'm going to give it a little while because I trust him. Mm-hmm. But I have no connection. I've never been a big Abigail Brand fan, not because of the character. I just don't really care about Marvel Cosmic that much.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see if it grabs me.
What I do like about this series is they aren't, they're not using any heavy hitters from the broader X-Men universe. Like they're not connecting, Nightcrawler to a bunch of no-named people. They're not connecting Storm to a bunch of no-named people, and they're not going to take them off the board in that sense. Like they can go places in this book. If you're thinking of the X-Men universe in like this collective of continuity, which I think they need to. I think they need to think of the Marvel universe at large like that. There's a lot of times where these books are being released at the same time where one character's on Earth and the same character is, a billion miles away out in space. And I think that they, by tapping into some of these characters that don't have a larger footprint, they're going to be able to do things with them. And I also think it's neat because they really do show you, like, look, this is supposed to be a minority group, but at one point in time, they've probably got a bigger encyclopedia of characters than any other, Fantastic Four or the Avengers or what have you. They've probably introduced more characters, as a vehicle through the mutant world than any other section of Marvel Comics. And so I like that they are honoring that past and they're using some of these characters that you've never seen or you've only seen in passing. That I think that's going to free them up to play with it. But again, I'm kind of like you. I don't know that, other than it being a thought experiment on how to, to do a special, to provide the larger move. I don't know how I feel about it unless they do some really, really grandiose stuff that we just don't see coming, which they could do, right? They could. It sounds like the book is going to, and this makes me kind of want to stay on it, but I'm scared if I do that it won't actually be what happened and I'll just end up being disappointed. But it sounds like they're going to tap into what just happened in Empire with the, that sounds like someplace that they're going with the Hulkling now being the leader of the Kree Skrull team up Empire. And, with that comes Wiccan and those, that's one of my, I'm a big Young Avengers fan and that's one of my favorite couples in all of comics. And like I was telling you guys earlier, Scarlet Witch is that's my girl. Like she's my Marvel queen. And I'm wondering if we're not going to get the seed that Hickman planted come to a head in this book, or at least play a larger role with the fact that Wanda is like a wanted figure. They still very much hold a grudge against her for the No More Mutants thing, as and I get it. Genocide is something that you don't just take a passing glance to. But if they don't give that, I don't know that I'm really like the fact that I think that's such a cool idea. If it's not there, that the fact that it's not there may be a disappointment for me personally. So I don't know. It's taking a risk. Matt, I'm curious because I know Magneto is like, he's an important character to you. How did you feel about the way he was written in this?
The lighthearted moments, the Magneto lighthearted moments in this felt a little weird, but all in all, I liked the way he was presented. I really liked the way he showed up,
right,
specifically, and how he chose to use his magnetism powers to get to this space station, as opposed to using any spaceship technology. His interactions with the characters I thought were really cool. It did feel a little too lighthearted for Magneto, but I mean, all together I was pleased.
Yeah, I felt like some of the moments were, and I don't know if it's a soldier at ease, but I mean he's representing the High Council. I expected a more staunch kind of presentation of him, and that's not at all what we got. I thought when Cortez is up there trying to grovel and up talk himself up and doing all but dropping to his knees under the desk, and Magneto just kind of like ignores him, and him and Abigail are walking off. He's like really, that guy? And she's like, look, we limited options, people, we're busy, we're doing the best we can with what we have. Like, I thought that was funny. And I'm not reading I'm not reading the broader, I'm not reading all the X books right now. It's impossible for me to do. So I don't know if we've seen this version of him in other books, or if this was just kind of particular to the way Al Ewing is writing him. But it put me off a little bit, not because it was a bad way to write him, just because that's not the character I know. And so I had a hard time like navigating around that.
Well, it kind of felt like, he's there and he is purposely trying not to intimidate these very young mutants, because it's obvious that they all look up to him, but he's trying to come across to me like he's obviously trying to put them at ease and let them know how important they are to the cause, to keep them motivated in the right way.
Yeah. I can see that. So I also, and this goes back to Scarlet Witch, one thing that I found, I continue to find interesting, and especially now that they've labeled Scarlet Witch she's the pretender, and she is, she's on the hit list essentially. This has been really the first time that I've seen Magneto talk about her, and it weirds me out, because if they're doing what Hickman said he's going to do, and this is everything that came before happened, but it doesn't necessarily have to stay the status quo. And he's talking about her like she was considered his daughter for a long time, for a long part of X-Men continuity, and they don't mention that. And I don't know if it's they're not mentioning it because it doesn't matter, or if it's like the 1,000-pound elephant in the room that they're just not going to talk about with him. I'm curious to see what they do with that. Because I don't think you can ignore that. I don't, and I don't think that you would ignore that. I mean, these writers are too good to do that. So I don't know. I thought that was a moment to either with one or two lines to where you could have really tied it back to that and made it really feel like, no, we're not talking about that. Like, she's an enemy of the state. The fact that she's my daughter, or was my daughter, or is now not my daughter, doesn't matter. I felt like they missed an opportunity with that, but that could be for a reason. Like I said, I don't know.
Yeah, it looked to me like everything you just said was acknowledged and explained in that one panel where he is obviously, I mean, he's looking at the floor. He's in his own head about it.
Yeah.
And that's not what Magneto does. He doesn't get in his own head and look away. I mean, so for that character to do that, that's a serious introspective moment right there.
Yeah. I think you played it up. Or no, I think you read it in a way that I didn't, because so it sounds like for you got that out of that. I missed it in some sense. Either I just glanced over it. I didn't feel that moment, which is interesting. That's always like, I love that we can pull different things out of these moments, and because that's the beauty of subjective storytelling. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was a great book. If you guys come back and tell me that no, dude, like that relationship is a big moment in this, then I'm gonna have to pick it up, because I can't miss it. But other than that, yeah, I just don't feel like it's something I've got to get locked into.
I don't get the feeling that Magneto is going to be a major part of this book.
Right.
I think Magneto was there for the purpose of introducing us to the characters.
That's true. Which,
I mean, I don't feel like he's staying in this environment. You know, he helped to get it launched, but he's going to go back to Earth. You know.
Yeah,
he's on the council. He's got other things to do. I just don't think that I think he was there for the sole purpose of introducing us to these characters.
I think so. Well, I don't think he's like a part of the team by any means, but and that's what I wonder, if he was just there for that and to remind us of these things that are happening in the X universe at large, or if it was setting up for these characters, absent Magneto, to go to the to deal with the Kree Skrull stuff and to deal with the mutant relationships between, the Wiccan and Hulkling, but Scarlet Witch. So I don't think he'll be a part of it. I don't know. I just find that whole relationship and that whole aspect of that, like that's what I'm waiting for them to get to.
Well, certainly Matt's reading more of the X-Men books than I am, but as far as I'm aware, that's the first mention of Wanda in the X-Men books since Hickman took over.
Yeah, I've not seen it anywhere.
So I know in House of X or Powers of 10, in one of those design pages where they're like listing things, that's where they call her the Pretender. And so she's listed as an enemy of the state.
Gotcha.
And that, like I said, that was House of X Powers of 10. So it's been a while, and it was segued. So she was mentioned early on in that. And I forget if they actually had a moment to where they talked about her, but she's very much set up as a, she's something's coming down the line with that. Or at least it should be. I mean, they've literally like given her a title, and put her on a most.
I find it weird that I would find it weird if they go back and revisit her and the whole House of M stuff. I mean, it's been dealt with in the past, so that just seems to me to be dredging up something just to make a story out of it.
Possibly.
But I mean, I may be wrong. It's just that, I mean, that was dealt with. She wasn't under her own control, right?
I wouldn't think so, but I mean, would you? They might not accept that answer. And even if it's not, there's.
I mean,
they still want vengeance.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Who knows if they're going to go down that route? They mentioned her, so I mean that's what makes me think that like this is at least the second time that they've brought her up. So they're going to do something with her eventually. I just don't know what. And like you said, you're dealing with writers, on some level, Al Ewing and definitely Hickman, who are way more cerebral in what they do than we are. So it's probably not going to be something as simple as the low hanging fruit of just tying into House of M, and this is just what this is, and we're going to drudge a story up out of it. So I don't think that's what's going to be. But no, I think it's like overall a fun book. So
I mean, I don't want to come across as saying that they're just dredging up a story. I mean, to me, it's a story that's already been told.
Right.
And I just don't see Hickman revisiting a story that's already been told and resolved.
No,
I mean, Wanda's already been exonerated in the past for that. If she's an enemy of the state now, I would have to think it's for some other reason.
But who exonerated her?
The X-Men exonerated her. The mutants exonerated her. She's not been, being hunted by mutants for years. You know.
It sure seems like they're bringing that back.
I mean, I may be completely off base, but
I know the Avengers exonerated her, and they had this big moment like in AVX where they had that came to a head, but it sure seems like they're still holding beef against her.
Yeah, I mean, very well, maybe.
So, and you got also, I mean, one of those aspects at the time, if it was the X-Men that exonerated her, which X-Men too, because I mean, that's, was it under the guidance of Charles? Because if that was the case, then, people like Magneto and Sinister and all these other former villains, they weren't in on making that call. Very well could have been, and I don't remember, but very well could have been the case that Cyclops wasn't in on making that call when he went and, one-upped Magneto. But yeah, so I don't know, like that, and that's part of this the political machinations of Krakoa, right? Because all these people just got on the same page, and like you said from the other book, where from Marauders, where Kitty Pryde and the White Queen just roughed up what's his face for doing some shady shit. So they're not all quite on the same page. Like the political machinations of this are ingenious and very entertaining. It's a fun read across the board, even if you're not reading all the books, seeing how all these cogs work with each other. So, I am curious though. So now we've got Cypher, who can speak to Krakoa, and he's kind of the voice of Krakoa channeling through. And I, like I said, not reading all the books, I don't know what he's been up to. We've got this character of WizKid, who's part of this six-member multiversal far retrieval circuit mutant technology that can speak to technology. Where is Forge in all of this? So, because of like when I think of mutants that can translate language and that can speak to technology, I think of Forge. And we know that in the future, the big spacecraft that they invade and attack is called the Forge. So where has he been in all this? Have they brought him in any of the books?
Yeah, Forge is on Krakoa.
Is he? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which book is he in? Because that's
he's been mentioned throughout the main X title, but I haven't made note of like if he's been mentioned in all the others, but he's been in the storyline.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he's not doing anything like big time.
Where Forge is, Caleb, Forge is in the X series. So if you'd like to know where Forge is, you should read the X series.
Thanks.
So if you're missing your Forge, read the X series.
Fair enough. I was just wondering if he was like having a big moment anywhere that I was.
He's not having a big moment. He's part of the control team on Krakoa.
So he's the IT coordinator?
He is part of the control team that's controlling.
Yeah, he's the IT coordinator. He fixes the copiers.
that works. IT coordinator is Magneto says, "Hey, I accidentally erased my hard drive because of my magneticism."
Yeah.
And Forge tells him to unplug his computer and reboot it and see if that works.
Yeah. The Wi-Fi is down, Forge. Gave you right there.
It's a good job for that guy. Well, all right. Yeah. So I enjoyed it. Like I said, it sounds like you two are keeping around on your pull list for a few more issues. I'm not, just because again, there's just the weight of the X-Men line of Marvel Comics on my bank account is something.
So the X-Men books, I give all the new titles at least a couple of issues.
Mm-hmm.
With this being Al Ewing, I'll actually give it a couple of additional issues just to see if it hits with me. But here. Yeah, I try them all because it's X-Men related stuff or X related stuff. So,
all right, if my girl shows up, I demand a text message. I'm going to be disappointed if I don't get one.
I'll be very surprised if she shows up.
All right.
Especially in the S.W.O.R.D book.
So I want to know something that you've been reading while you're in the hot seat, Craig. Tell me about a book that you dug through this week.
Well, I'm actually, because I'm lazy, I am going to keep the same book I prepared for last week, which is a book called Dash, The Case of the Mysterious Zita Makara. This was a Kickstarter book by Northwest Press. It was written by Dave Eberstahl, and Delia, I think is how you say her name. Delia Gable did art and did all the art and the letters on it. It is 1940 Los Angeles, and Private Eye Dash Malone is waiting on a phone call. In the meantime, the beautiful Zita Makara, with her rather large hoop earrings, is in his office trying to hire him. I only mention the earrings because it comes back later. So she's going over the details of her case, and his mind keeps drifting to the phone call that is well over a week late at this point that he still hasn't received. Zita tells him she needs him to deliver a large sum of money to someone in exchange for an artifact that she desperately needs. Dash wants more information, but Zita will offer none other than trying to woo him with her beauty, and he's obviously not biting. In the meantime, his office phone rings, and he can hear his receptionist in the other room take a message. Dash now tries to hurry and end the meeting with Zita, so he tells her he'll call her in the morning with his decision on whether he'll take the case or not. The receptionist tells Dash that he has a meeting scheduled for 7 p.m. and that he knows where. Dash hurries out the door, telling her he will be late in the morning, and when he arrives at the park for his meeting, we quickly find out that the reason he has been so anxious for the meeting is because he's been waiting for the call from his boyfriend Plink, who's a rather kind of how do you put it, always looking for the scam. He'll drop off the grid for a week or so. He's always looking for the hustle, and he's disappeared and just been gone, and no one knows where he has been, including Dash. And when Dash questions him about it, Plink tells him that he's been working on a deal that when he's done with it, it'll mean that they will never have to work again. As they begin to embrace, they are interrupted by Officer Sal McGillicuddy, who tells them that they are lucky it is him, because otherwise they would be charged with sodomy in public, along with who knows what other crimes. Sal tells them there have been murders in the park and that they need to get lost before other patrols show up and run them in. And the next morning, Plink is hurrying out the door to finish his deal, and Dash is trying to tell Zita he will take the case. However, he and Zita keep missing each other. Dash finally returns to his office when he gets a call from Officer Sal, who asks him to come to the park. The pit in his stomach forms as he knows why. As he heads to the park, Sal tries to speak to him, but Dash doesn't hear. Lying on the ground dead is Plink. Next to him is one of Zita's earrings. And that's essentially the end of what would be the first floppy in this book. It's a collected story. It's probably got 6 or 7 issues in it. Really enjoying it so far. Flipping through some of the later pages, there's a supernatural element to it that comes into play, but it appears that maybe Plink was the person that Zita was wanting Dash to deliver the money to, which would be an interesting twist on it. So yeah, interesting book. I highly recommend this. It's still available on Kickstarter. The art's great. The story's really intriguing. I think all 3 of us kind of like crime noir. So I think this would be a book that either of you two would be interested in as well.
Did you say this is a black and white book or not?
No, it's colored.
Is it?
But it's got that crime noir, 1940s private eye deal, going on.
Yeah. Dave Ebersol is a big fan of, obviously Dashiell Hammett. That's the namesake of the character. When I was talking to him it's been a little bit, but he's a big fan of Walter Mosley. And so he's bringing all of those elements, Devil in a Blue Dress, that kind of thing, to the book. And Craig ain't wrong. It's really fun. Dave he's a damn good writer. And he's got a deep love for those old school detective stories. So he's putting that comes through. It channels through hard in this book.
Yeah. So you've read this book?
Yep, I backed it on Kickstarter.
Oh, so you got it already and have already read it?
So I got the digital copy. I didn't do the higher tier where I got the big copy.
Did you talk about this and I forgot?
No, not on this show. No, when I was invited to, every once in a while I slink over to Comic Book Bears, under the radar, and jump in on their show. But we actually spoke with Dave on one of their shows a couple months back, where he was pushing this, and that's where when I went and backed it. But it's a good interview. If anybody is interested in that, they should go check it out. It's still in the CBB catalog. But he's a friend and fan. Obviously, there is a LGBTQ bent to the book that they talk about. So that was, that's another reason to pick up the book. But no, a solid dude. And fun fact, those little pops that they sell that are blanks that you can make your own figure?
Yeah.
Somebody who is a fan of his or a friend of his made a Dash pop and sent it.
Oh, nice.
The other day. He was posting about it on either his Instagram page or his Facebook page, and it was cool. It's little green jacket, tie, and a hat. So it's really good stuff. I'm glad you picked it up. I didn't know if it was on your radar or not.
Yeah, no, I picked it up on a Kickstarter backing. Don't know how it ended up in my Kickstarter feed, but it did, and I was glad to back it and really have enjoyed what I've read of it so far.
Mm-hmm. It's fun, and like I said, with it's a crime noir book that focuses on a community that was not necessarily written about at the time that these books were popular. And that's where I think the Walter Mosley aspect of it comes in. Like, Walter Mosley, he wrote about people who were like his main character is a black detective. And at the time that a lot of these crime noir books, like he's a private eye. He's a private dick that goes around, and a lot of his books focus on like looking at these things from the African American community. There's a lot of back and forth from California to Louisiana in those books, and I think Dave pulls from that really hard in looking at people like his main character, people like Dash, are not socially accepted people. There's some communities that they might have to go in where they're not going to be allowed, not just because they're private eyes, but because people know that he's or they at least suspect, or there's some aspect of it like, oh, he's an untouchable, he's a gay dude, and he plays up that aspect really, really well, and there's a lot of nuance, but it's not like so heavily nuanced that it's going to be bogging you down. It's still a really fun adventure story.
Well, I mean, you could have written this book with, whether it was straight or gay, right, and at least to the point that I've read it to, the sexuality of the character didn't seem to make any difference in the storyline. Mm-hmm. Other than they're having to sneak around and hide, especially in the 1940s in Los Angeles, there's aspects to their character that it makes a difference, but it doesn't, the story itself could be told the same either way from what I'm reading. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely
does. I think is a great way to tell a story about that community.
Yeah.
But, from a person from the outside looking in.
Yeah, because it doesn't put the sexuality on the forefront. It's not a story about him being gay. It's a story about him being a detective, and the being gay aspect is just a part of it. But when you're writing a story about an era like the 1940s, where literally, like you said, sodomy laws were in place and you could be arrested for it, he does a really good job of reminding you of those aspects, and also, you know, it becomes it's a part of the plot of the overall story. I think more so later on.
Okay. Yeah, I may just not be to that point yet in the story.
But I don't ever,
and it's great, you know, either way.
Yeah, I don't ever think it's the main, at least in my, as far as I've gotten in my reading, it's never the main pillar of the story. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's another thing that gives it a flavor. It's another thing that builds up the humanity of the story. And I don't know, dude, I could sing Dave Ebersol's praises. He's such a good dude. He's a good writer. He's a solid guy. It warms my heart that you backed him on Kickstarter, because I didn't know if if you knew who he was or anything. But this is where our worlds kind of come together. This is awesome.
Well, again, I think this is a great story, whether you're backing it or, you know, for either the representation in the LGBTQ community, or you're reading it just because you love a great crime story.
Right.
With some supernatural vibes happening in it. You know, it's both of those things, and both of them, you know, again, I'm not part of that community, but it feels to me that it gives some good representation.
It does indeed.
So,
and you know, speaking as a member of that community, we've taken you in. You're a
honorary member.
You've been on the Comic Book Bears, and you're my bestie.
Fair.
Well, all right. Well, Matt, what did you read this week, brother?
The book I'm going to talk about, this is the from a Blaze publication, the Cimmerian, the Frost Giant's daughter. So this is a Blaze Publications, what they're calling the uncensored comic book version of the original Robert E. Howard's Conan Tales. This one was written, and the art was also done by Robin Richt. The art in this book is really good. I loved the art in this book by far and away. This is by far and away my favorite art I've seen in this Ablaze run that they're doing. This just was killer. This particular story, The Frost Giant's Daughter, when I heard that they were adapting this, it immediately got my attention, because this story has a very un-Conan-like moment in it. It really makes me wonder where Robert E. Howard's head was when he wrote this story as part of his whole Conan run, because it just stands way out in the entire series. And what they're going to do with this one particular moment once you get towards the end of this story, I'm anxious to see, especially since they love to say how this is the uncensored. Well, there's something in here I have a feeling they're going to have to censor. So yeah, I was going to pick this up just out of curiosity alone, how they're going to handle this one very particular, doesn't age well, un-Conan the Barbarian type moment that comes later in the story. In this particular issue, this entire issue is an expansion of the very beginning of the original story. Nothing that happens in this comic book happens in the original issue, save maybe the last page. Everything else is like a prelude to what builds up to the opening of the Robert E. Howard story. Really cool, man. The art's great, but what we see here are these two warring factions in the north of Hyperborea, and these two warring factions are fighting over this land in the north. You've got the red beards and the blonde beards. They have a very Nordic look to them, a very traditional Nordic look. It's set, the setting is like fighting in the dark while it's snowing, and it's illustrated exceedingly well. the character designs are great. I mean, everything. I mean, these polar bears are illustrated so well. I'm like, did he do some photo realism copying here? Because these polar bears look amazing,
gorgeous.
Like, I mean, it's of course the frost giant herself looks great. The use of the silhouettes to illustrate, to show the battle scenes, I love those. I love just the shadows as the battle scenes. So I cannot brag on the art in this book enough. And the storytelling is really well done. The narrative is done very, very well. It's easy to read, easy to follow. I mean, everything just fits so well together in this book, man. This Robin Richt needs more work. I want to see more of what this guy does. But the entire buildup is really interesting because it's a complete, I guess you would say, expansion on the first couple of lines of the original Robert E. Howard book. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this for a lot of reasons. The quality of this issue blew me away. Like I said, I think this is head and shoulders above any of the others that have come before it. The others weren't bad. It's just this one, I don't know, this one just felt so much better than the others that I've read so far.
And there was like 6 amazing covers to this book.
Yeah, they've been doing, Blaze has been doing lots of variant covers for all of these. The one I got the one that was it's a painted cover by Jay Anicoletto. Amazing looking. I mean, it's a great freaking cover. So yeah, they're really making the most out of this Cimmerian run that Blaze is doing.
Yeah, and I'm just going to second what you said. It's been my favorite in the series too.
Yeah,
only one issue in, by far it caught my attention quicker than the other ones, and the art's just beautiful in the book.
Man, if the whole mood is just so.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, just the whole mood in this first issue is so dark and brooding, and it's not word heavy. I mean, it just gives you. I mean, the whole mood of this issue is just so on point.
What you just said literally is what made this my favorite. And again, you said it wonderfully. This has been my favorite of all the Ablaze stuff, and all of the Ablaze stuff has been good. Yeah. Like, that's not saying any bad ones, but the rest of them have been, I mean, I thought Roy Thomas was writing them again. Like, they have been wordy as hell. Like, on some of them, there's like, it's literally, you're reading the prose. You might actually be able to read the prose faster. Because they pack it full of exposition, but this one very measured in how it delivered the language, and it works so wonderfully, especially because, like you said, it doesn't take up page space on this book, and you want to see as much of this art as you can, because I'm a sucker for snow scenes in comics in general, especially fight scenes in the snow. You get the Barry Windsor Smith snow scenes from the Wolverine books and everything, that it works so well when it's done well, and this is a great example of how it's done well. So Craig, which cover did you get on this?
I got the one that's the homage to the Wolverine #1 cover, where it's got Conan just on a pile of bodies.
I got the one where it's Conan and the Frost Giant's daughter like walking away, and the giant polar bears are above them, just kind of looming. It's a gorgeous cover. Now, I will say, Frost Giant's daughter is scantily clad, and that might be what they're considering uncensored, because her loincloth is a little translucent, and you can basically see her ovaries, which is a little uncomfortable, considering you don't know how old this person is, and so that one's just like, ew. But it's a gorgeous cover.
I had a different perspective of your cover.
I did as well.
Have you guys like looked? If you get into the details, like if you're scanning it, you're just like, oh, you can see through all of her clothes. Like, this is okay. But no, I mean, it
did not make me uncomfortable.
It did not me as well.
Next time, put Conan in a translucent loincloth, please, and thank you. But no, one of the things I really dug about about this book was the setup. Well, and I don't want to. Matt might have not wanted to talk about this. There's one aspect in the fight that these two warring factions don't hate each other, right? Like they're not like sworn and mortal enemies. This is like a ritual for them to meet on the ice once a year and battle, and then go about their business. Like I thought that was just cool as shit.
Yeah, they sure seem to hate each other. The way, I mean, they're peeing on their one surviving, they urinate on their one surviving hostage before they let dogs eat him alive. Sure seems like they dislike each other a great deal.
Right, but it's not like they're in, like, this is a ritual. It's not like they're not constantly battling. Like they meet on the ice once a year to fight each other, and like that's like they're not constantly at war. Like they're not going to go fight again the next day. It's like a hard line. Like this is what we do.
It's to prevent the war, though.
Right.
They do this so that they don't battle constantly.
No, I think
gain the Frost Giant's daughter, and to gain the Frost Giant's daughter's favor.
I think that's such a cool storytelling aspect, like in giving you the texture of that world. And then also the peeing was he straight up just doused that dude. So I don't know if Ablaze is doing these in hardcovers or not. Like, I don't know if you're going to get an Ablaze collection. I really need to look into finding out if there's anybody in our area that like binds books. Because I've never done any book binding. I've thought about it with some of like my old Marvel runs and stuff, but I kind of want to see if I can get these all bound into like a hardcover. I think that would look really cool.
The comic purist in me absolutely is against that.
Yeah, boy, did I ever cringe.
But, to each their own. I hope they collect it in an omnibus type format when they're done with it.
I bet they will. I bet they're going to milk this for everything they can.
Yeah.
I'm not attached to them that much. Plus, I'm not sure with actually, I need to look more into the binding process. I was under the idea that you can actually have the stuff unbound, and because they essentially like just loop it together, and the comics aren't actually disturbed. I could be completely wrong in that though. Because like I said, I've never looked into the process, but again, these things aren't like, they're not going to be worth a ton of money or anything. And they're like, I don't know. I think it would look really cool having these all collected in a hardcover, but if Ablaze does that for me, I don't have to do it. So it's what I really want in life. So give me that for Christmas, Ablaze.
There you go.
Well, all right. Well, I am also going to pull a Craig and talk about the book that I was going to read last week, but we played we played / I underperformed at some Marvel trivia instead, which I can't wait till we get to do that again. I'm brushing up. I'm studying in my free time. I feel like I'm gonna redeem myself next time. Feel good. Feel stoked. But the book I was going to talk about last week was kind of the newest kickoff from the DC Black Label in the Batman run. And it's also is going to be the final chapter of Tom King's tenure on Batman. And that is none other than Batman and Catwoman #1. Like I said, written by Tom King, wonderfully drawn by Clay Mann with gorgeous colors by Tomo Mori. I have thoughts. I have thoughts on the book. So essentially the book works on 3 different timelines, which is something that Tom King, I think, is one of his strong points. He can weave in and out of different story threads really well. The book opens up with this older woman driving down in it's a fancy convertible. And she's singing some Christmas carols just to let you know what time it is, time of the year it is. And then you get a flashback, and what Tom King is doing is showing you kind of these 3 levels of these interactions, because the old woman it's Catwoman, it's Selena. And it's kind of giving you the scope of what she is about the business of doing. And she is like I said, this is an older version. I don't know if we've ever seen a version of this old, and she's on her way to a trailer park to visit someone, and she's going to tell this person, she's kind of going to tell them some bad news, and without giving too much away, the bad news is that Batman is dead. Bruce Wayne is dead. This person has a long and storied connection to Bruce, and she's going to go deliver this bad news. And like I said, the guy's living in, you know, Shady Palms, Seabird Island trailer park, where she's going to go drop this bad news at. Completely opposite of the way she's presented, which is this, you know, person driving a Rolls Royce convertible in a, you know, a fancy designer clothes. But where the story goes from there, they introduce they flash back again. They give you this character, and there's this woman, this kind of bombshell, gorgeous redhead, visiting a younger Bruce Wayne, and she's got a problem. Her son is missing, and she needs Bruce. Her son's missing in Gotham, which is not where you want your kid to go missing at. And she's needing Bruce's help because she knows about Bruce's secret, which you're like, what? Like who could know about Bruce's secret? Well, this person is Andrea Beaumont. And for those of you who are probably my age, I'm assuming you guys have as well, but Andrea Beaumont is a key figure in the Batman lore, not from the comics, but from the cartoons, from the animated cartoons, specifically the movie Night of the Phantasm. Andrea Beaumont was set up in that film to have been Bruce's first real love, but as is tend to happen with people in Bruce's life, be it either the connection to Bruce or just the connection to Gotham, some shit happens and it breaks her, and she becomes a villain. She becomes the Phantasm, which is, you know, just a really, really cool thing, because you did, like, that was such a cool twist in that movie that you didn't see it happen. But we've never really seen the Phantasm come to comics.
Spoilers, geez, man. I
left a spoiler warning.
Yeah. Well, I should have been. No, I'm totally messing with you.
Book's 2 weeks old at this point, but you missed.
I wasn't talking about the book. I was talking about the movie.
I'm slow. I'm slow today. I've only had 2 cups of coffee. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
You've had 20 years to watch this.
That's why I was joking.
So but we've never, like, as far as I know, we've never seen her come to the comics. But in that, apparently what happened after that is she was thought to have been killed. And she goes into, really what happened is she went into hiding. She tried to raise her kid, but something happened and her kid goes missing in Gotham. So Bruce goes to Catwoman, and they are, who this is kind of the current time. They're dating now or married now. And he's just like, hey, yeah, we've got to go help her. And of course, Selena's just like, who is this? Oh, your first love? Like, she's just like, okay. But they go start like tracking down this kid. They have to go into the sewers looking for clues, which leads you to a little bit of a backstory with, you see the Sewer King, who had a big hand in raising Catwoman and teaching her, her trade, how to steal. And of course he feels betrayed. Well, they have to kick ass and fight some alligators, but they get the information that they're looking for. And that leads you into kind of the third timeline that you visit in this, which is early days of Catwoman's experience. And of course it's a Batman book, so you have to lead into who is the main connector to the villainous world of Batman, and that's the Joker. So you see Catwoman breaking into a man's house to steal, he's to steal his jewelry, and of course the Joker is there in his suit and Tommy gun just kind of waiting on her, and they have this kind of back and forth where they talk about look, this is who you are, like, this is who I am, we're both bad guys, we kind of have this standoffish relationship, but also I know you're like, you've got a connection to the Bat that I don't have. If you know who he is, will you tell me? And she's, I'm not going to tell you. And will you kill him for me? No, I'm not going to kill him for you. But it shows really well how she has a foot in both worlds of both her connection, be it romantically with Batman and with being a bad guy at the time. and her, there's some really, really interesting dialogue between her and the Joker in these flashback scenes. Well, it goes back to the, kind of the current time, and it shows them coming to a tent underneath a bridge where they've been told that this boy who was looking for his father this whole time, that's why he ran away, was staying with somebody. And they open up the tent and the boy rolls out and he's dead. But he's not just dead, he's smiling. He's grinning from ear to ear, which, you know what that means. And so they have to figure out what happens. That's where they're going to go from there, and they're going to go after the Joker. This book didn't necessarily give me everything I wanted from it. I still think it's a really well written book. Tom King, the way he writes relationships is very, very interesting, and because he doesn't just do it in one singular way. Like, you can think of his Vision book, which was all about family. You think about what he's doing right now with Adam Strange, which is a story, an incredibly different story about family and relationships. You think about what he did with Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, which is another marital relation. Like, he's kind of, I don't know if it's fair to say he's cornered the market, but this is the world he likes to play in, and writing about these romantic relationships and these aspects of family, and now doing the same thing with Batman and Catwoman, and showing the different relationships that all of these characters can have, and how there are different people who have different relationships and marital relationships, or in that, and so from that aspect, it was really good. And I also think he did a really good job with jumping through the timelines. He doesn't use a lot of transitional phrases, which could have worked against him. But I think he and Clay Mann, they've worked together so long, they kind of have this shorthand in their scripts, and the transitions are seamless. They're smooth. You know exactly where you're at. Clay Mann gives you the visual cues that you need, and some of that may be Tomo Mori's, the color palette there that clues you into where you're at. But those transitions, even without those and then, or back then, and now, or what have you, they're really, really well done. They're seamless. It didn't pack the punch that I was hoping it would have, because again, this book was hyped up a long time ago. We knew the Phantasm was going to play a role in this book, and you never see the Phantasm in this book, but you know it's coming, because Andrea is in this book, and her son has been killed, so you know it's making a comeback, and you do see this, again, spoilers, but you see the suit at some point, but it's not on anybody. I'm looking forward to the next issue. I think this was an interesting setup book. The way that the story ends in this first issue in the future, I am not going to spoil on this, because it is some pretty, I thought it was really well done, and I didn't expect it. But it's a very important book to not the future of Bruce, but to the future of Catwoman, who is the central figure here. This is more of a Catwoman book than a Batman book, which is for me, it's nice, because I like I like the way she's written. I enjoy the dynamic of the character when she's the focal point of stories. So I'm ready for issue 2. I hope issue 2 is a little bit more action packed. I hope it's a little faster paced. But other than that, I feel like this was a really strong issue. I'm looking forward to seeing how Tom ends his run with the character. And I know that you guys aren't, you aren't big on Tom King's writing. You guys aren't nearly as big of fans as I am, and that's fine. He does something different for me in his writing that I know a lot of people don't care for. I tend to enjoy it, especially when he's writing these smaller stories, the more contained stories. I don't know if this is going to be 12 issues or 18. I tend to think it's going to be 12, because it's a Black Label book, but when it comes to these limited runs, I think that's where he's at his strongest. And so, no, I dug it. I feel like this is going to be a very cool story that opens up these really complicated figures and these really hard relationships to understand. And look, at the end of the day, Tom King in his real life is a father. So if he's writing a story about a person seeking vengeance for the death of their child, I think there's going to be some really emotional gut punches in this that's yet to come. So if nothing else, Clayman is going to draw it, and it's going to be fun to look at. So I don't know. I'm all in on this. I can't wait to see what he does. And it's going to be a wrap up of a really controversial yet highly entertaining from my end run. It hadn't all been home runs. There was absolutely parts of his run on the mainstream that I didn't care for, but all in all, this has been a neat and a very thought provoking tenure on the character. So I'm about it.
Well, I want to be clear in saying that it's not that I dislike Tom King's writing ability. I just don't care to have a relationship story for Bruce Wayne.
Oh, that's
but
fair.
That's neither here nor there. I'm glad you're digging it.
Yeah. It is a different corner of his world. But I mean, to that end, you are getting, and this is one of the good things, and some people say it's oversaturation. I have my opinions on DC's use of Batman, which is largely just because it's their best-selling character. But you're getting the other versions of Batman in these other stories. So there's kind of a Batman book out there for everybody. What's happening in that character in the main book now is really entertaining. It's really fun. I think it's largely, I don't want to use the phrase formulaic, but I do think it's going to be that thing is like you get a really cool story, you get some interesting characters, he's going to do something, and it's going to be easy to put back in the sandbox. What I like about Tom King, and I think what a lot of other people don't like about Tom King's run on the character, is he was actively trying to do things that can't be put back into the sandbox. And I don't know, like there are some people who have very valid points saying, hey, that's not fair because it's not his character to do that with. There's a lot of people who are still, one of the things he did is he killed Alfred, and we haven't seen Alfred come back yet. But if Alfred's going to come back, I think it's probably going to be Tom King that brings him back. And Alfred does make a small cameo in this book, and it was nice to see him again. But it's, I think all in all, it is pushing that character forward. And I do like the relationship aspect of Batman, though.
Well,
between,
I mean,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into it too much with you because it's just a different thought process on this.
Yeah.
To me, the relationship with Bruce Wayne isn't Bruce Wayne. It's a relationship with Batman in Gotham. That's who he chose to devote his life to.
Well, yeah.
That's his mistress. That's his love.
No, and I don't disagree with that at all. And that's part of that aspect of saying, the alter ego is Bruce Wayne. The character is Batman. It's not the opposite way around with a lot of people. But to the flip side of that is you do have, complicated and really hard to peg relationships between Batman and Alfred. Batman and Dick have their own, father-son relationship. Like these interpersonal, interhuman relationships are long and storied. And for me, I like that exploration of it. Because there's only look, it's, even though the Joker, he showed up as a part of this book, and I wish they would put the Joker to bed for a little bit, because I've had about all of the Joker I can take in 1 year, because everybody's writing him right now. There's only so much, punch, fight, kick that is interesting to me at one time. And I do like I like the humanization of not only this character, but all the characters. Like, I love the humanization of the Vision. I love the humanization of Barda and stuff. So, and he gives me that, which that's me. I'm kind of a sappy dude sometimes. And so it's completely just subjective, but it is the relationships that draw me in when Tom writes.
I mean, that's fair if that's what you're looking for.
So I'm looking for from a Tom book, like, but
right.
That's not what I'm looking for all the time by any means. And we have other versions of that that we get. And so I think there's room enough for everybody. And I just want to see how he wraps up this, because I think at the end of the day, he's going to get his heart broken. And it's going to go back to him just being being a hardened, calloused figure at the end of it. So, and I could be completely wrong. So, we're going to get it. It's going to be what it is. And they're going to move on. So
there you go.
Clay Mann's going to draw it. And at the end of the day, Clay Mann drawing anything is better than most. So, cause that dude can, fucking A, can he draw? You also get a snow scene in this. And like I said earlier, snow scenes, especially snow scenes in Gotham, the graveyard. That's cool shit. So, well, all right. Are we about ready to wrap this thing up and bring it home?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, we're going to do that the way that we always do that, by giving folks who are listening to this, hopefully they listen to it this week, but if not, they can always go back. A little taste, a little smidgen. We're going to set the menu a little bit of what is coming out next week, next new comic book day, when new books hit the shelves, as they always do. Again, look, we're just kind of speculating on whether or not these books are going to be good, or we have no idea. We haven't read them for the most part, but it's always fun to see what's coming down the pipeline and kind of at least figure out what we're gonna be excited about grabbing when we go into the shop, be it on if we make it like the Wednesday Warriors do, or if we just go down the line and we've already pegged it on our pull list. So as always, we'll start with we'll go the way we went. We'll start with Matt on this. And Matt, what's coming out next week that you're excited about grabbing?
Oh, definitely Batman's Grave number 12. This wraps up the Batman's Grave series that I've been bragging on so much. This is the Warren Ellis, Brian Hitch book. Bittersweet, because this has been the best Batman story I've read in a long, long time. And now it's going to be over. Like it, don't like it.
I'm excited about the hardcover that's going to come out of this.
Yeah. I've dug this story, so I'm ready for the ending to see how it ends and wraps up. But like Matt said, bittersweet. Caleb, why don't you go next? I've got a couple of choices, so
okay, just so
I've got a backup in case you choose one.
Well, if you chose this, I'm going to be impressed, because I don't know that you did. But from our good friends over at Scout Comics, we are getting a number 1 from them. It's called Murder Hobo, All In at the Dragon's Shaft. So when I got turned on to Scout Comics because of Craig, I had gone back and looked at some of what they had offered and stuff. Their Murder Hobo stuff is hilarious and really, really funny. So they're bringing Murder Hobo back with more wild and deadly tales. At the local cavern, brave warriors in the land of the high adventure are becoming more and more aware of quote unquote heroes who are not what they seem. So while sharing war stories, these adventurers realize that they've each invited into their parties a rogue agent, separately, who put them directly in harm's way, often resulting in dead heroes and stolen treasure. I want this in a bad way. It's Joseph Schmalke and Jason Lynch are creating it as they have done in the past. It is kind of a D&D atmosphere. It's giving you a little bit of, like, if you like Rat Queens, it's giving you a little bit of that, but it's more in the lines of the humor involved with like the what is that show I hate that everybody loves?
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons. And I love how quick Craig answered that question.
I knew exactly where you were going.
It's giving you some of that. So yeah, go check out if you can find it. You may have to ask your shop to order it, because it's an indie comic, but Murder Hobos, All In at the Dragon's Shaft.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go with Second Coming by Ahoy Comics. This is the part 2 or season 2, and it's called The Only Begotten Son number 1. Of course, this is Mark Russell and Richard Pace. Love the first go round. Interested to see where they're going from here.
Samesies.
Yeah,
that's gonna get read real quick. So
yes, sir.
All right, we got anything that we missed? Did I make mistakes that need corrected? Do you guys just want to profess your profound love and or disappointment for anything?
No, I mean I'm good.
All righty. Well, then in that case, I'm gonna go. Not do homework. Got to remember how to do Sundays now that I don't have school. I'm going to go try to make loud noises so Roger wakes up and we can watch we can watch more of Raised by Wolves accidentally bang pots and pans together. So in doing that, again, I encourage you, I implore you, I beg you, if you have not already done so, go check out our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, check us out on Twitter. We're posting stuff. We would love to hear from you guys. Support your local comic shops. I know things are hard right now, and if you've got some money and you want some good books, make sure you're getting them the right way. And if you're not if you are in Central Arkansas, go check out our good friends over at Kapow Comics. They will treat you so many ways that you're bound to like one of them, as my grandpapa would say. So with that wrapping up, we hope you all have fantastic weeks and go forth and love some comics. Woo!